Mom ridiculed me at sister's b-day. Real success means having a family, not money like this selfish one. Everyone laughed except me, so I quietly walked out. By the following week, she turned pale when the house I'd covered got. The string lights strung across my parents' backyard glowed a deceptive, buttery yellow, casting a warm veneer over a scene that felt anything but. My sister, Lauren, radiant and oblivious, held court at the central table, tearing into birthday gifts. Around her, a kaleidoscope of 25 family members orbited, children, a blur of energy, chasing their own joy across the lawn. Adults, a buzzing cluster of laughter and clinking glasses, congregated by the smoke-perfumed grill, beers and wine in hand. I stood apart, a silent sentinel near the grill, watching the whole elaborate production unfold. Lauren was 31 today. Her parties always felt grander, more significant than any of mine ever had. Aunt Gloria, her third glass of Cabernet swaying precariously, drifted over. "Marcus, honey, how's real estate? Your mom said you closed something big." I set my beer on the grill's cool ledge. Commercial property downtown. 6 months of grinding, finally paid off. She offered a smile, a practiced, polite curve of lips people deploy when confronted with a success they don't quite grasp but feel compelled to acknowledge. Then, a voice, sharp and laced with a sudden, venomous clarity, sliced through the evening's hum. "You know what real success is?" The nearby chatter died. A hush fell, thick and immediate. My mother, Patricia, rose from her chair beside Lauren's table, wine glass still clutched in her hand, face flushed crimson. Her gaze, cold and direct, impaled me. Having a family, not money, like this greedy one here. Her free hand, trembling slightly, stabbed in my direction. "Lauren has real success. 2 beautiful children, a husband who adores her, priorities that actually matter." 3 agonizing seconds of silence stretched, taut and suffocating. Then, a nervous titter from somewhere in the crowd, quickly blossoming into a wave of laughter that swept through the yard, as if my mother had just delivered the punchline to the world's most hilarious joke. My father, Robert, chuckled from his lounge chair. Lauren, my sister, hid a smirk behind her hand. Her husband, Brad, shook his head, a silent, uncomfortable acknowledgement, but said nothing. My cousins exchanged furtive, uneasy glances, yet remained utterly quiet. Not one person, not a single soul, spoke up. Not for me. My face went blank, a carefully constructed mask. I picked up my beer, set it back down, untouched, and began walking toward the house. I didn't utter a word. "Marcus, where are you going?" my uncle's voice called, laced with feigned concern. "Bathroom." The laughter, now a mocking echo, followed me through the kitchen, a phantom chorus of judgment. I ascended the stairs, each step heavy, to what used to be my sanctuary, now merely a guest room. Faded band posters from high school still clung to the walls, relics of a past self. A dusty track trophy, a forgotten triumph, sat on the shelf. Through the window, the party's muffled music and indistinct voices blended into a symphony of indifference. I grabbed my jacket. My phone vibrated. "Dad." I declined the call. Stealthily, I descended, pausing at the family photo wall in the hallway. Lauren's wedding photo, a massive, professionally lit tableau of perfect happiness, dominated the center. Around it, her children's school portraits, flawlessly framed, formed a jubilant constellation. My college graduation photo, a small, faded square tucked into the bottom corner, was barely visible. Keys in hand, I slipped out. My Tesla, a silent, metallic beast, waited in the driveway. I sat there, staring at the house, the vibrant glow of the party now a distant, mocking shimmer in the rear view. 30 seconds of absolute stillness. The faint throb of bass from the backyard. I started the engine, put the car in reverse, and drove away. That comment wasn't random. It was a precise, calculated strike. Let me show you the pattern. At 19, I worked 30 hours a week at the campus bookstore to supplement student loans that covered my tuition. My meager paycheck bought groceries, paid rent, kept the lights on. I graduated with honors and $72,000 in debt. My parents' contribution? Zero, aside from a lecture on building character. That same year, Lauren, 16, still in high school. 4 years later, my parents paid her entire private college tuition, room, and board, a cool $140,000. When I dared to ask why, my mother, with a dismissive wave, explained Lauren needed more support because she wasn't as independent. At 23, I landed my first real job as a financial analyst in Portland, earning $62,000 a year, saving aggressively, every penny earmarked for my future. Lauren, then 20, dropped out of junior year to marry Brad after 8 months of dating. My parents threw them a $45,000 wedding. Venue, catering, flowers, photographer, a Mexico honeymoon. All expenses paid. They then asked me for a $13,000 loan for the wedding photographer. Family helps family, they'd said. I never saw that money again. A year later, when I tentatively brought it up, my mother scoffed. Keeping track of money within the family is petty. At 27, my father's business crumbled. A client went bankrupt, leaving him with nothing. The house was underwater, $180,000 in mortgage debt, with foreclosure looming in 90 days. Dad called me on a Tuesday night, his voice trembling, utterly broken. I wired $140,000 to refinance the house. The same day, my entire life's savings vanished. I made sure it was all legally documented. 45% ownership for me, 55% for them, filed with the county, notarized. Lauren, at the signing, had flippantly remarked, "Thank God someone here knows money." It was the last time she ever acknowledged it. My parents offered a single, clipped "thank you," and never mentioned it again. At 29, Lauren's oldest son broke his arm. Pins, overnight hospital stay. Insurance left an $8,500 bill. Lauren started a GoFundMe, scraped together $1,200. I paid the remaining $7,300 directly to the hospital. Lauren, of course, posted on Facebook about the overwhelming support from her church community. My name was conspicuously absent. Last Christmas, at 33, I spent $800 on thoughtful gifts for everyone, not just generic gift cards. Lauren handed me a $15 Starbucks card in a generic envelope, my name misspelled. My mother pulled me aside, explaining Lauren was on a budget with the kids, and I should understand. My father added, "You don't need anything anyway, you make good money." 15 years. The same insidious pattern, over and over. I was the family ATM. Invisible, utterly dispensable, unless money was involved. That comment at the party, that wasn't a joke. It was her truth. I pulled into my condo garage around 9. The silence a stark bomb after the backyard din. The elevator ascended to the 15th floor, depositing me into an apartment hushed and still. Floor-to-ceiling windows framed the Portland skyline, a glittering tapestry against the dark sky. Keys dropped onto the counter with a quiet thud. I opened my laptop. A Google Drive folder, ominously titled Parents' House Legal Docs, stared back. The first document, property deed. My name, unequivocally listed as 45% owner of 847 Maple Grove Drive. Next, the wire transfer receipt, November 18, 2019, $140,000 sent to the mortgage company. Then the contract, 17 pages thick. I navigated to page 9. Either party may petition for partition sale, with proper notice per Oregon state law. A new browser tab. Portland partition lawsuit attorney. I scrolled until I found him. David Chun, real estate litigation, 15 years experience, partner at a downtown firm. His profile, property disputes, co-ownership conflicts, forced sales. Exactly what I needed. My phone buzzed. A text from Mom. "You embarrass Lauren by leaving early. Very selfish, Marcus." I stared at the screen, then back at the contract clause. My calculator blinked. $315,000 0.45 equals $141,750. I looked at Mom's text again, her accusation of selfishness. Closed the laptop. Went to bed. Sunday morning dawned, clear and crisp. At 8:30, I dialed David Chen's emergency number. This is Marcus Reynolds. I need to file a petition action against my parents. Can you meet this morning? A pause. Today. Sunday. I'll pay your premium weekend rate. Another pause. Stumptown Coffee on Burnside, 9 a.m. Bring documentation. I hung up, grabbed the folder, and left. The coffee shop was sparsely populated, mostly runners fueling up. David Chen, mid-40s, sharp in impeccably casual clothes that hinted at a hefty price tag, sat at a corner table. I slid into the chair opposite him, pushing the folder across. You said this was urgent. I need to force the sale of a house I co-own with my parents. He scanned the property deed. You're a minority owner, 45%. Contract includes a partition clause, page 3. He flipped to it, read for 30 seconds, then nodded slowly. This is enforceable. But you understand what this means. I paid $140,000 to save their house 7 years ago. Yesterday, my mother called me greedy in front of 25 people. He set the papers down. And you want to force a sale? Get your equity. Move on. They'll hate you for this. They already do. They just hide it until they need money. David sipped his coffee, thoughtful. I can file Monday morning. Service, Wednesday. Court hearing in 2 weeks. Do it. We shook hands. After coffee, we drove to his office downtown, a silent, cavernous building on a Sunday. The elevator carried us to the 12th floor. David printed a petition template. Petition for partition and sale of real property. Plaintiff, Marcus Reynolds. Defendants, Robert Reynolds, Patricia Reynolds. Property, 847 Maple Grove Drive. Relief sought. Court-ordered sale. Proceeds divided per ownership. He slid the papers across his desk. Once I file electronically, the court assigns a case number and schedules a hearing. Your parents get served by a process server. After that, it's a legal matter. How much will I net? Property's worth about $312,000 based on comps. Your 45% is $140,400. After fees and costs, probably $135,000 to $140,000. File it. I drove home. The rest of Sunday was consumed by methodical preparation. I created a new folder. Partition case evidence. Uploaded the wire transfer screenshot, the property deed, the contract with the partition clause highlighted. Text histories of my family requesting money. Venmo transactions to Lauren, marked as loans but never repaid. Everything exported to PDF. An encrypted email to David. Subject: evidence for case. My phone buzzed relentlessly all afternoon. 3 calls from Dad, 2 from Lauren, a voicemail from Mom. I didn't answer. Didn't even listen. Just kept organizing, building my case like I was preparing for trial, which in essence I was. Ordered Chinese, ate directly from the containers while watching a real estate fraud documentary. By 9 p.m., I was in bed, phone on Do Not Disturb. I fell asleep in 10 minutes. 8 hours of uninterrupted sleep. The longest, most peaceful night I'd had in months. Monday morning, I woke feeling clear. Not happy, not sad, just clear. Like someone had finally flicked a switch in a room I'd been fumbling through in darkness for 15 years. They had spent that time teaching me my worth was measured in dollars I could give them. Monday morning, they would learn I'd been keeping receipts. It turned out I was worth exactly $141,750. And I wanted every penny back. At 8 a.m. sharp, David Chen's law office, a monument of glass and steel, occupied the entire 12th floor of a downtown high-rise. Floor-to-ceiling windows offered a panoramic view of the Willamette River. Modern, pristine, professional. David sat at his desk, documents already printed and meticulously organized in a manila folder. He slid the petition across to me. Petition for partition. And sale of real property. 12 pages. Read carefully before signing. I picked it up, scanned the critical sections. Plaintiff Marcus Reynolds has 45% undivided ownership interest. Defendants Robert and Patricia Reynolds have refused voluntary sale or buyout. Property valued at approximately $312,000. Plaintiff requests court-ordered partition sale. I flipped to page 12, the signature line waiting. David slid a pen, black ink, across the desk. My hand, steady, without a tremor of hesitation, signed my name. Once I file this, it becomes public record. Your parents will be served Wednesday morning by a process server. Do it. David turned to his computer, typed for 90 seconds, then clicked submit. An email notification pinged. Case number CV2026128447 filed successfully. Service scheduled for Wednesday, February 4th. He looked up. It's done. No going back now. Good. I left his office and went straight to work, like it was any other Monday. My office, on the 17th floor of an investment firm, boasted glass walls and a commanding view of the city. I spent the day dissecting property deals, spreadsheets, market projections. A coworker stopped by at 11. Good weekend. Quiet. Yours.
Same.
Fantasy basketball is destroying me this season. Tough break. Normal Monday conversation. Normal Monday work. Nobody knew I'd just sued my parents an hour earlier. Tuesday unfolded in the same routine rhythm. Office, property analysis, client calls, lunch, gym, treadmill for 40 minutes, hip-hop drowning out the world. My phone lay face down in the cup holder. It vibrated 6 times during my run. I didn't check it. Finished my workout, drove home, cooked dinner, pan-seared salmon, roasted vegetables, water. Ate alone at my kitchen counter, catching up on news on my iPad. In bed by 10. Wednesday afternoon changed everything. I was in a conference room, quarterly review meeting, acquisition targets projected on screen. My phone, face down on the table, began to vibrate around 2:30. Then again. And again. The meeting dragged until 3:15. As everyone filed out, I picked up my phone. 22 missed calls.
Mom, 9. Dad, 8.
Lauren, 5. 5 voicemails. I walked to my private office, closed the door, and sat at my desk. Played the first voicemail on speaker. Dad, 2:47 p.m. His voice laced with fury. Marcus, what the heck? A man just showed up at our door and handed us a lawsuit. You're suing us over the house? This is insane. Call me now. Next voicemail. Mom, 2:52 p.m. Weeping. I don't understand, honey. The paper says you want to force us to sell our home. This is where we live. Please call me back, please. Next. Lauren, 3:01 p.m. Screaming. Are you serious right now? You're going to make Mom and Dad homeless because she called you greedy? You're punishing her, right? Call me back. Next. Dad, 3:08 p.m. Desperate. Son, please. Whatever we did, we can fix it. Just call off the lawyers. We'll talk. I'm begging you. Last one. Mom, 3:14 p.m.
Quiet.
Bone-chillingly quiet. I never thought my own son would do this to me. I carried you for 9 months, and this is how you repay me. I saved all 5 voicemails to a folder. Didn't call back. Went back to work. Thursday morning, I worked from home. Laptop open on the kitchen counter, coffee growing cold, spreadsheets of commercial property valuations filling the screen. The doorbell rang at 11:03. I wasn't expecting anyone. I pulled up the Ring camera app. Mom and Dad stood in my hallway. Mom looked haggard, eyes red-rimmed, an old winter coat draped over her, hair uncombed. Dad wore his Home Depot work jacket, looking like he'd come straight from his part-time job. I pressed the intercom. How did you get my address? Mom's voice crackled through the speaker, frail and desperate. Your grandmother gave it to us. Please, Marcus, just let us in. My finger hovered over the button. 5 seconds. 5 minutes. Then I buzzed them up. I opened my door and waited. The elevator dinged. Footsteps echoed down the hall. They walked in slowly, their eyes wide, taking in my spacious, modern condo as if they'd never seen such a place, which they hadn't. I'd never invited them. Mom sank onto the edge of my couch. Dad stood by the window, staring out at the city view. I remained in the kitchen, arms crossed, offering no coffee, no pleasantries. Dad spoke first, his voice subdued. "This is a nice place. You didn't drive 45 minutes to compliment my condo." Mom's voice trembled. "Why are you doing this to us?" "I'm not doing anything to you. I'm exercising my legal rights as a property co-owner." Dad turned from the window, his eyes blazing. "Your legal rights to kick us out of our home?" "Our home? I own 45%. That's not symbolic. That's real, legal ownership." Mom stood up, her voice rising. "We never agreed to sell. The contract we all signed in 2019 includes a partition clause. Page 3. You signed it."
Dad signed it.
"I signed it." Dad's face went crimson. "We didn't think you'd actually use it. You also didn't think I'd stop being your personal bank account. But here we are." Mom took a step toward me. "We're your family. Then why did you call me greedy in front of 25 people at Lauren's party?" "That was a joke. Jokes are funny. That was cruel. There's a difference." Dad stepped between us, trying to diffuse the escalating tension. "So, this is revenge? Over one comment?"
No.
"This is consequences. For 15 years of being invisible unless you needed money." "Consequences? You're destroying them." Lauren's voice, shrill with indignation, cut in from behind them. I turned. Lauren stood in my doorway, Brad, looking deeply uncomfortable, behind her. The door, left unlocked, had allowed her easy entry. She stormed into my condo. "You're really going to do this? Force them out of their house?" "I'm not forcing anything. The court will order a sale. I'm exercising my rights." "Rights? What about family obligations? Like the obligation to say thank you when I paid $7,300 for your son's surgery?" She faltered. We were going to pay you back."
When?
"It's been 3 years." Brad gently tugged her arm. "Babe, let's not." "How much?" I asked, my voice dangerously calm. "Do you think I've given this family?" Lauren looked from Mom to Dad, then back to me, bewildered. "I don't know. Maybe 50,000. I pulled out my phone, opened my notes app, and turned the screen toward them. "Down payment, $140,000. Your wedding, $13,000. Nephew's surgery, $7,300. Random loans, $11,000. Total, $171,300. Brad's eyes went wide. Lauren went pale. Dad stared at the stark numbers. We didn't ask for all that."
You didn't ask.
"You expected. Every single time. And I gave. For 15 years. Until Saturday." Mom's voice, broken and defeated, came out. "So what? You want us to pay you back? We don't have that kind of money." "I know. That's why the house sells." Dad stepped forward again, his voice raw. "And we live where?" "An apartment. A smaller house. Whatever your half of the sale proceeds covers." Mom started crying again, real, wrenching sobs this time. Lauren looked at me as if I were a stranger, a monster. "I can't believe you're doing this. I can't believe it took me 34 years." I walked to the door, opened it wide. "I have work to do. Contact my attorney if you want to negotiate a buyout. Otherwise, I'll see you in court." They stood frozen. "Please leave." Brad pulled Lauren toward the door. She resisted for a second, then followed, her face a mask of bitter resentment. My parents walked out last. Mom refused to look at me. Dad did, though, shaking his head slowly, a deep, silent accusation. The door closed behind them. I stood there for a minute, listening to their retreating footsteps fade down the hallway, then the distant ding of the elevator. Silence. I walked back to my laptop. Kept working. Friday evening, I hit the gym around 6. In the weight room, I pushed through bench presses, headphones blasting music, drowning out the world. My friend Jake spotted me on my last set. "You good, man?" You're lifting angry. I racked the bar. I'm good. Actually, really good. Your family situation? Handled. I finished my workout, grabbed smoothies at the juice bar. Jake studied me. You sure you're okay? For the first time in 15 years?
Yeah.
He nodded slowly. All right. Call if you need anything. I will. Drove home, ordered Thai through an app, and settled in to watch the Blazers game. My phone lay face down on the coffee table. 47 unread texts glowed on the lock screen when I glanced at it. I didn't check them. Ate my pad Thai straight from the container. The Blazers dominated the fourth quarter and won by double digits. A normal Friday night. Went to bed around 11. Slept 9 hours straight. No nightmares, no anxiety, no guilt. Just sleep. Somewhere across town, my family was probably crying about me being heartless, cruel, vengeful. I'd spent 15 years breaking my own heart trying to earn theirs. 1 week of them feeling what I'd felt for a decade and a half seemed fair. Week 2 brought the court hearing. Multnomah County Courthouse. Tuesday morning, courtroom 4B. Judge Patricia Morrison presided, a 60-something woman with tightly pulled-back gray hair and a no-nonsense expression that broadcast she'd heard every excuse in the book. I sat at the plaintiff's table with David Chun, who, in a clean suit and with a calm expression, had our case documents open before him. My parents sat at the defense table with their attorney, a young, earnest-looking man in a cheap, ill-fitting suit who seemed to have been assigned the case yesterday. Lauren sat in the gallery behind them, arms crossed, a death stare boring into the back of my head. The hearing lasted 45 minutes. My parents' attorneys stood first. Your Honor, forcing the sale of my client's primary residence will cause undue hardship. They're elderly, living on fixed income. Judge Morrison cut him off, her voice crisp. Undue hardship is not grounds to void a valid partition clause in a legal contract. The attorney tried again. They're 62 and 59, Your Honor. Retirement age. Limited means to relocate. David rose smoothly. Your Honor, 62 and 59 is hardly elderly, and their fixed income includes the equity from my client's $140,000 investment that saved this property from foreclosure 7 years ago. Judge Morrison flipped through the contract we'd submitted, reading for what felt like 2 minutes of complete silence in the courtroom. She looked up. This partition clause is clear and enforceable. The plaintiff has legal standing. She set the papers down. I'm ordering a property appraisal within 10 days. Defendants will have 30 days from the appraisal date to buy out the plaintiff at the appraised value. If they cannot or will not, the property will be listed for sale, with proceeds divided according to ownership percentages. Next hearing, March 15th, to review progress. The gavel struck the bench with a sharp crack. I stood with David, gathering our papers. In the hallway outside, my parents surged toward me, Mom's face red and tear-streaked, Dad's jaw clenched in impotent rage. Courthouse security stepped between us before they could get within 10 feet. Sir, please maintain distance. I walked past them without a glance, David falling in step behind me. We entered the elevator. As the doors hissed shut, I heard my mother's voice, a desperate, fading cry, calling my name. Friday afternoon, the appraisal happened. I didn't attend. The appraiser went through the house alone, with my parents present. That evening, the full report arrived in my inbox. I opened it on my laptop. Professional photos meticulously documented every room. The living room, dated furniture, family photos crowding every surface. The kitchen, appliances from the 90s crying out for an update. Bedrooms with threadbare carpet and years of minimal care. The backyard, overgrown, featured a deck showing signs of rot. Appraised value, $312,000. My 45%, $140,400. 3 comparable sales were attached, recent houses in the same neighborhood, similar square footage. The numbers were solid. The condition notes at the bottom were equally stark. Property is functional but dated. Deferred maintenance visible throughout. Kitchen and bathrooms would benefit from modernization. An email from David arrived an hour later. Their attorney offered $85,000 as settlement. I declined per your instructions. I typed back immediately. $140,400 or for sale. No negotiation. Week 3. Sunday afternoon. My phone rang. Aunt Gloria. Marcus, honey, can you come by the house?
Just for a little while.
Family wants to talk about. About what? Just come, please. For me. I shouldn't have gone. I knew it was a setup.
But I went anyway.
Pulled up to Aunt Gloria's house around 2. Same neighborhood as my parents, 3 blocks away. Walked in through the front door she'd left ajar. The living room was packed with family. Aunt Gloria by the fireplace. Uncle Dave on the couch. Cousins Emily and Jason near the window. And in the armchair, my grandmother, 87 years old, her sharp eyes fixed on me. Ambush. I stated flatly. You set me up. Gloria stepped forward, wringing her hands. We wanted neutral ground. Somewhere you could talk things out with your parents. Where are they? Upstairs, waiting. I turned to leave. Then this conversation is over. Marcus.
Sit.
My grandmother's voice, frail but carrying an undeniable weight, stopped me cold. It always had. I turned, sat on the ottoman across from her. Talk to me.
Just me.
Why are you doing this? Everyone else filed out of the room, Gloria shooting me an apologetic glance as she went to the kitchen.
The door closed.
Just me and Grandma. I told her everything. 15 years of being the family bank. The college tuition disparity. Lauren's wedding. The house crisis. My nephew's surgery. Every loan that became a gift. Every crisis I solved. Every thank you that never came. I pulled out my phone, showed her the notes app with the running total. $171,300. She stared at the screen for a long time. I didn't know it was that much. Nobody did. Because I never complained. Just kept giving. Your mother loves you, Marcus. Grandma, I said, meeting her gaze. If this is what love looks like, I don't want it. She reached over, patted my hand. Hers felt thin, fragile. What if I asked you to forgive them? I'd say no. Respectfully. A long pause. I could hear voices from the kitchen, low murmurs, undoubtedly discussing me.
Then I won't ask.
But I'll be sad about this. I know. I'm sorry. I leaned over and kissed her cheek. Stood up. Tell them I left. Not interested in talking. I walked out through the front door, got in my car, and drove away. I never went upstairs to see my parents. Thursday morning, week 3. My phone buzzed. A text from Brad, Lauren's husband. Coffee. Just us. No drama. 7 a.m. tomorrow. Starbucks on Morrison. I showed up, curious what he wanted to say, without Lauren's presence. He looked utterly exhausted, bags under his eyes. His coffee, already half empty, sat before him. I slid into the seat opposite. Lauren's been crying for 2 weeks straight. I didn't make her cry. Reality did. He rubbed his face. Look, man, I get it. Her family's complicated. That's diplomatic. Can I be honest, please? Go ahead. I've been dealing with your parents spoiling Lauren for 9 years. It's exhausting. But forcing them to sell their house? That's harsh. The court is enforcing a contract they signed. I'm not forcing anything. Semantics. He leaned forward. You want to know the real reason?
Yeah.
For 15 years, I measured my worth by how much I could give them. Never enough. I paid for your wife's college, her wedding, your son's surgery. Saturday night, my mom called me greedy in front of 25 people. She reduced everything I built to greed. Brad went quiet, his gaze fixed on his coffee cup. So, yeah, I'm taking my equity. It's mine legally. And I need them to understand I'm not their safety net anymore. What if they have to move in with us? I stood up, dropped cash on the table for my coffee. Then you'll understand what I've been dealing with my whole life. I walked out. Monday morning, week 4. David called. 30-day buyout deadline passed. Judge ordered the listing. When does it go live? Friday. Okay. I hung up. Friday morning. An MLS alert email hit my inbox. New listing, 847, Maple Grove Drive, $312,000. I opened it on my phone. Professional photos displayed empty rooms, my parents having cleared furniture and personal items to prepare for showing. For bedrooms, 2.5 baths, 2,100 square feet. The description included motivated seller and court-ordered sale. Showings starting Saturday. 14 appointments already scheduled. Saturday afternoon, I drove past the house. Without planning to. Just happened to be in the neighborhood, I told myself. A realtor's car was in the driveway. An open house sign staked in the lawn, balloons tied to the mailbox. A young couple walked out, smiling, talking to the agent, pointing at the roof. I kept driving. Didn't stop. Didn't slow down. I didn't feel victorious.
Just done.
Saturday evening, a text from David. 14 groups viewed property today. 3 offers submitted already. All above asking. Bidding more likely. I stared at the message, typed back one word. Good. Sunday night on my couch, the TV on, news playing in the background. I wasn't really watching. My mind drifted to my parents, somewhere in that house, packing boxes. Lauren probably there, helping. Brad loading their truck. I thought of the young couple from the open house, excited, embarking on their life together. I thought about the market. It didn't care about my family drama, about 15 years of being the ATM, about birthday party insults or unpaid loans or sisters who got everything while brothers got debt. The market cared about square footage, school districts, comparable sales. Cold, mathematical, fair. My parents had spent 3 decades building a life on borrowed money and from my wallet. Now, strangers with pre-approval letters were deciding if the kitchen was worth updating, if the backyard had good bones. Turns out their life was worth $312,000. And I was about to get my share of it. Finally. Week 7. Tuesday afternoon. The title company conference room downtown. Sterile, corporate, with fake plants and motivational art on beige walls. The winning offer had closed at $319,500, a bidding war pushing it $7,000 over asking. My net, after legal fees and closing costs, $142,380. Their net, $175,120. I arrived on time, in a suit, professional. My parents showed up 15 minutes late. Mom wore an old dress, as if pulled from the back of her closet. Dad was in an ill-fitting sport coat, probably borrowed. Lauren and Brad were there, providing silent moral support, perched on chairs along the wall. The title officer led us through the paperwork, a stack an inch thick. The signing took an hour. Nobody spoke, save for the officer's quiet instructions. Just the rustle of pages, the scratch of pens, and the relentless tick of the wall clock. Page after page. Initial here. Sign there. Date this. Finally, the officer gathered everything into neat piles. Funds will wire tomorrow morning to all parties. Congratulations on closing. Nobody felt congratulated. I stood, nodded to the officer. Thank you. Walked toward the door, not looking at anyone. As I reached my car in the parking lot, key in hand, Dad's voice came from behind me. Marcus, wait. I stopped. Didn't turn around. Was it worth it? He asked, his voice raw, fragile. I turned to face him. His face looked older somehow. More tired. Yes. We're your parents. You're my former co-owners. I just cashed out. I got in my car, started the engine, and drove away. In the rear-view mirror, he stood alone in the parking lot, watching me leave. The next morning, Wednesday, I sat at my kitchen counter with coffee. Opened my banking app. A notification glowed at the top. Wire transfer received. $142,380. I stared at the number for a full minute.
Didn't feel happy. Didn't feel sad.
Just resolved. I transferred $140,000 to my investment account. Index funds. Long-term growth. Let it work for me, instead of for them. Kept $2,380 in checking. Finished my coffee. Went to work. A normal Wednesday. 2 months later, I ran into Jake at the gym. We hadn't seen each other in a few weeks. He spotted me on the bench press. How's your family situation? I racked the bar.
Done.
House sold 2 months ago. And nothing. They got their money. I got mine. We don't talk. You okay with that?
Yeah.
Actually, I am. He studied my face, looking for cracks. No regrets? Not one. He nodded, and we moved to the next set. Later that week, a text from my grandmother. An update on my parents I hadn't asked for. They'd moved to a 2-bedroom apartment across town, $1,900 a month rent. Dad had come out of retirement to work part-time at Home Depot. Mom was doing bookkeeping from home for small businesses. Smaller place. Tighter budget. Real consequences. Lauren, apparently, wasn't helping financially. They have their own kids to worry about. I read the text twice.
Didn't respond.
Archived it. Went back to what I was doing. 6 months after the sale closed, a Sunday afternoon at Whole Foods. Produce section. Comparing prices on bell peppers. I turned the corner with my cart and froze. Lauren, 10 feet away, holding organic bananas. We saw each other at the exact same moment. 3 seconds of eye contact. I nodded once and kept walking. Marcus, wait. I stopped. Turned around. How are you?
Fine.
You? We're okay. Kids are good. An awkward silence stretched. Shoppers moving around us. Store music playing softly overhead. Mom asks about you. I'm sure she does. She shifted the bananas from one hand to the other. Do you hate us?
No.
Then why won't you talk to us? Because I don't need to. There's a difference. Her face tightened. We're still your family. Biologically, yes. That's cold, Marcus.
No.
Cold was laughing when Mom called me greedy in front of 25 people. This is just honest. I pushed my cart past her, down the aisle. Didn't look back. I heard her say something else, but kept walking. Checked out. Loaded groceries into my car. Drove home. Sunday morning, 6 months post-sale. I stood on my balcony with coffee. A clear spring sky. The Portland skyline stretched out below. My phone sat on the small table, face up, no notifications. A text from Jake. Brunch at 11 o'clock. I typed back. I'm in. Set the phone down. Took a sip of coffee. Sat in my chair, feet up on the railing. The city was waking up below. Cars on the streets. People starting their day. A normal Sunday. A normal life.
Peace.
People ask if I regret it. Usually people who've never been the family ATM. Never spent 15 years being invisible, except when someone needed money. They say things like, but they're your parents. Or, family is forever. Like those phrases solve everything. I tell them, I valued my family for 34 years at $171,300. They valued me at $0 and one public insult at a birthday party. The math wasn't hard. Neither was walking away. My mom said huge success is having a family, not money. She was wrong about that the same way she was wrong about me being greedy. I didn't choose money over family. I chose myself. The money was just proof I'd paid enough. Some people measure success in family photos and Sunday dinners and holiday gatherings where everyone pretends to like each other. I measured in silence. No midnight calls about rent being late. No texts asking for loans that become gifts. No expectations to solve every crisis they created. No one laughing when someone calls me greedy for working hard and building something. Just silence and choice and mornings on my balcony with coffee and a city view. That's worth more than $142,380. That's priceless.